My name is Maya Chen, and at 32 years old, I discovered that family loyalty has a price tag, and apparently, I couldn't afford it. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, my phone rang. Mom's face lit up the screen, smiling from that photo taken at my sister's Hamptons beach house. I should have known something was wrong when she called instead of texted. Maya, about Thanksgiving. She paused, and I could hear the careful calculation in her silence. We need to discuss the guest list. I set down my coffee, still warm in my elementary school teacher's mug, a gift from last year's second graders, the red best teacher ever in wobbly crayon letters. What about it? Well, your sister Alexandra is bringing someone very important. David Harrington. You know, the Harrington Foundation? Her voice climbed with excitement. And we feel that. Well, your situation might create the wrong impression. My situation. I kept my voice level. The same tone I used when my students tried to convince me their homework was eaten by dragons. Your career choice, dear. It's very admirable. Of course. But David moves in circles where appearances matter. Alexandra needs to make the right impression, and a second grade teacher earning $40,000 a year would embarrass her. The silence confirmed everything. It's just this one holiday, Maya. Once they're engaged, once Alexandra is established, we can include you again. You understand, don't you? I understood perfectly. After 32 years, my family had finally said out loud what I'd always suspected. I wasn't good enough. Of course. Mom, tell everyone I hope they enjoyed their dinner. I hung up before she could hear my voice crack. What they didn't know, what none of them knew, was the secret I'd been keeping for 2 years. Ever since Grandma Rose passed away. The women who raised me while Mom and Dad worked. Who taught me to braid hair and balance checkbooks. Who spent her final 18 months holding my hand while Alexandra was too busy climbing the corporate ladder to visit. Rose Chen, whom everyone assumed was just a retired secretary living modestly on her pension, had left me more than memories. She'd left me a test, and my family was about to fail it spectacularly. Chapter 2. The Golden Child. Growing up, our house had an invisible hierarchy that everyone pretended not to see. Alexandra got the master bedroom with the bay window. I got the smaller room facing the alley. Alexandra's achievements, her dean's list certificates, her marketing awards, her magazine features covered the refrigerator like wallpaper. Mine went in a drawer in Dad's office. We don't want to overwhelm the fridge, Mom would say, sliding my Teacher of the Year award out of sight. Whenever Alexandra visited, my sister lived in a downtown penthouse that cost more per month than I earned in a year. As communications director for a luxury brand consultancy, she collected designer handbags like I collected handmade Mother's Day cards. Her Rolex to just a small bonus. She'd called it cost more than my car. Mom's social media was a shrine to Alexandra's success. My brilliant daughter closed another 6-figure deal. Or so proud of Alexandra's presentation to the board. I appear in exactly for photos over 5 years. Always cropped at the edge, always out of focus. Maya is content with simpler things. Mom would tell her country club friends, as if contentment was a character flaw. Some people aren't driven by ambition. The message was clear. Alexandra shone, and I existed in her shadow by design. But Grandma Rose had seen something different. Chapter 3. Rose's secret. Your sister counts dollars. Grandma Rose told me once, during one of my Sunday visits to Meadowbrook Senior Living. She'd chosen to move there not from necessity, but because she liked the community. You count moments. Which do you think matters more in the end? I'd spent every Sunday for 2 years sitting with her, playing cards, reviewing her paperwork, listening to her stories. Alexandra had visited once, stayed 11 minutes, asked about inheritance planning at minute 9. Nobody knew that Rose Chen had built an empire from nothing. Widowed at 28 with 2 children, she'd worked 3 jobs, invested every spare dollar, and by age 70, she was anonymously funding scholarships, community centers, and teacher support programs across the state. The Rose Chen Foundation existed in complete secrecy, controlling $38 million in assets. No galas, no publicity. No recognition, just quiet generosity that changed thousands of lives. The papers are with Morrison and Associates. She told me a month before she died, her voice still sharp despite the illness. Everything's ranged. Just remember, Maya money reveals character. It doesn't create it. I thought she meant a small inheritance. Maybe her jewelry, some savings. 2 weeks after her funeral, Thomas Morrison himself called me to his office. That's when I learned about the foundation, the board chairmanship, and the conditions attached to every penny of the family inheritance. Your grandmother was extraordinarily specific, he said, sliding documents across his polished desk. She believed in testing people's character when they didn't know they were being tested. I'd kept her secret for 2 years, watching, waiting. Now, finally, the test was beginning. Chapter 4. The phone call November 3rd, 21 days before Thanksgiving. Mom called during my lunch break. Meyer, we need to discuss Thanksgiving arrangements. I set down my sandwich, peanut butter and jelly, same as my students ate. I'm listening. You won't be joining us this year. David comes from a very prominent family. Alexandra needs everything to be perfect. And she paused, gathering courage for cruelty. Your career might send the wrong message about our families. Standing through my classroom window, I could see children playing, their laughter bright and uncomplicated. I focused on their joy while my mother explained why I wasn't good enough. David associates with CEOs, investors, philanthropists. What would you even discuss? Finger painting techniques? Is this Alexandra's decision or yours? Does it matter? We all want what's best for Alexandra's future. This relationship could elevate our entire family. I could hear Alexandra laughing in the background, not even pretending she wasn't listening. Just to clarify, I said, my teacher voice perfectly calm, you're excluding me from Thanksgiving because my profession embarrasses you. Don't be dramatic. It's one dinner. Next year will be different once they're engaged. I understand. Give everyone my regards. I hung up before she could respond. My hands weren't shaking. Grandma Rose had taught me that to never let them see you wounded. My phone buzzed. A text from Alexandra. Nothing personal. You get it, right? This is my chance at real happiness. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my safe and pulled out a folder labeled Rose Chen Foundation. Succession Protocols. Inside, a sticky note in Grandma's handwriting. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Chapter 5. Alexandra's calls called an hour later. Worried my silence meant rebellion. Meyer, I know Mom made it sound harsh, but be realistic. You earn $40,000 a year teaching children. David's what costs more than that. I'm aware of the income disparity, are you? Because his world is about connections, influence, power. What could you possibly contribute? Stories about playground arguments? I let her talk. The way I let my students talk through their frustrations before guiding them to better choices. His circle includes Fortune 500 executives, ambassadors, people who vacation with senators. You'd show up in your department store dress talking about parent-teacher conferences. Can you imagine how that would look? You're right, I said quietly. I don't belong in that world. Finally, you're being sensible. Look, it's not permanent. Once David and I are married, once I'm established, maybe we can bring you around. Small dinners first. We'll help you what to wear, what to say. That's very generous of you. I'm trying to help. Meyer, this is my shot at real success, real happiness. Don't you want that for me? I want you to be happy, Alexandra. Then stay away from Thanksgiving. And Meyer, her voice turned cold. Don't even think about showing up uninvited. I'll have security remove you if necessary. The threat hung between us like smoke. My baby sister, whom I'd walk to school every morning, who cried in my arms over failed tests and broken hearts, was threatening to have me physically removed from a family dinner. Understood. I said, enjoy your meal. After she hung up, I opened my laptop and logged into the foundation's private portal. There on the calendar, annual charity gala, November 29th, 3 days after Thanksgiving. 500 guests. Full meteor coverage. Black tie, perfect. Chapter 6. The Wilt at Night. I spread Grandma Rose's documents across my kitchen table. The will, the board appointment, the trust certificates, each page notarized, witnessed, legally unbreakable. Rose's will was a masterpiece of foresight and purpose. The family inheritance $14 million, and 3 properties came with one ironclad condition. The beneficiary must demonstrate consistent compassion and refuse to discriminate based on social class, profession, or economic status. Section 7.3 was particularly relevant. Any deliberate act of exclusion toward family members based on their occupation, income level, or perceived social standing will result in immediate and permanent forfeiture of all inheritance claims. The will even provided examples, including, but not limited to, refusing family invitations due to embarrassment over their honest employment. Grandma Rose had known. Somehow, she'd predicted exactly this scenario. My phone buzzed. An email from Thomas Morrison. Miss Chen, confirming your attendance at the gala. The board is prepared to formally introduce you as chairman. Should I arrange media coverage? I typed back, I'll be there. Please ensure coverage includes the foundation's history segment and Grandma Rose's recorded message. Of course, your grandmother's video will play after your introduction. She would be so proud of you. Maya. Video message. I'd almost forgotten. Rose had recorded it 6 months before she died. For the right moment, she'd said, her eyes twinkling with secrets I hadn't yet understood. I pulled up the foundation's website and found my photo on the board of directors page. Small, unremarkable, exactly as I'd requested. Below my name, appointed by founder Rose Chen. 2023. David Harrington would know exactly who I was the moment he did any research. If he hadn't already, I thought about calling Alexandra, warning her. Then I remembered her words. Don't even think about showing up. Fine. I wouldn't show up to Thanksgiving. But the gala, that was business. I sent one more email to the foundation's event coordinator. Please add 5 names to the guest list. The Chen family. I'll deliver the invitations personally. Grandma Rose always said revenge was beneath us, but justice was everything. Chapter 7. Thanksgiving Day. Thanksgiving arrived cold and gray. I ordered Chinese takeout, orange chicken and lo mein for 1 and settled in with a book. My phone stayed silent until 2 in the afternoon. When Alexandra's Instagram story appeared, the dining room had been transformed. Crystal I'd never seen. China with gold trim. Orchids as centerpieces. Alexandra posed with David, her hand positioned to showcase a diamond tennis bracelet that probably cost more than my annual salary. Perfect family dinner with my love. Grateful for family who understand what truly matters. #blessed. #Harrington. Future David looked uncomfortable in every photo. His smile seemed forced. And in one candid shot, he was staring at an empty chair, my chair, with a troubled expression. My friend Jennifer texted. Saw Alexandra's post. Why aren't you there? Scheduling conflict. I replied, on Thanksgiving. Meyer, what really happened? I didn't answer. Instead, I scrolled through more posts. Mom had shared her own. So proud of my accomplished daughter and her wonderful partner. The future is bright. 43 comments, all gushing about what a perfect couple they made. My cousin asked, where's Meyer? Alexandra replied, she had other obligations. You know how dedicated teachers are, always working. The like came so easily to her. My fortune cookie, the evening read, patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. I tucked the fortune into my wallet next to the gala invitation I'd be hand-delivering soon. 72 hours until everything changed. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Maya Chen? Yes, this is David Harrington. We need to talk. Chapter 8. 5 days later, 5 days after Thanksgiving, at 7 in the morning, someone pounded on my apartment door like they were trying to break it down. Through the peephole, my parents. Mom's usually perfect appearance was disheveled. Dad's face was crimson, either from anger or the 3 flights of stairs. I opened the door in my teaching clothes, khakis, and a cardigan with alphabet buttons. What did you do? Mom pushed past me without invitation. What did you say to David? I haven't spoken to David. Not a lie, he'd done all the talking during our brief conversation. Don't play games. Dad slammed the door behind him. He ended things with Alexandra yesterday. In public, at brunch, I poured myself coffee, noting that neither parent had ever visited my apartment before. Crisis had brought them here. That must be difficult for her. Difficult. Mom's voice hit a pitch only dogs could hear. He walked into the foundation office and saw your portrait. Your portrait, Maya, as chairman of the board. Why didn't you tell us? Dad demanded. How could you hide something like this? The same way you hid uninviting me to Thanksgiving. Some secrets feel necessary at the time. That was different, is it? You excluded me because my job embarrassed Alexandra, because I was too working class for David's important friends. Alexandra is devastated, Mom said. She thinks you sabotaged her deliberately. I did nothing. David discovered the truth on his own. Fix this, Dad ordered, using his executive voice. Call David, tell him you'll resign from whatever position you have, whatever it takes to make this right. No, the word hung in the air like a gunshot. No, Mom went pale. Your sister's happiness means nothing to you? My dignity meant nothing to you, I replied. I understand that now. But I won't lie or resign to repair what Alexandra broke herself. You want to know everything. I set down my coffee. Come to the foundation gala tonight, 8 o'clock, the Ritz-Carlton. Everything will be explained. What gala? Dad's face had gone from red to white. I handed them the embossed invitations I'd been keeping. The Rose Chen Foundation Annual Gala. Black tie. You'll want to bring Alexandra. She'll find the evening educational. They left clutching those invitations like they were subpoenas. Within an hour, the family assault began in earnest. Chapter 9. The siege Alexandra arrived at my school during afternoon pickup, mascara streaking her designer sunglasses. How could you? She wailed, not caring that parents were watching. You've always been jealous of me, Alexandra. I'm working. I guided my last student to her mother, maintaining my professional smile. You poisoned him against me, told him lies. I've never discussed you with David. Not once, liar. He said he can't be with someone who's ashamed of her own family. Where would he get that idea? From you, I thought, but didn't say. Mom called while Alexandra was still performing her grief. Your father and I have discussed this. You need to step down from whatever position you hold. Alexandra deserves this chance at happiness, and I deserve to spend Thanksgiving with my family. That's petty. Maya, we're discussing Alexandra's entire future. No, we're discussing consequences. Be reasonable. I hung up. Alexandra grabbed my arm. I'll contest the will. I'll prove you manipulated Grandma. With what evidence? She had dementia. She had cancer. Her mind was perfect until the end. Every document was witnessed by medical professionals and lawyers. Alexandra's face crumpled, real tears finally breaking through the performance. For a moment, I saw my little sister again, the one who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. Please, she whispered. I love him. Then you should have been honest with him. I'll do anything. Come to the gala tonight. Listen to what Grandma had to say. Then we'll see. She left without another word. But I knew she'd be there. The possibility of salvaging her social standing would guarantee it. David called the evening, his voice thoughtful and measured. Double quotes, Miss Chen. I apologize for any awkwardness. I needed to understand who you really were before making contact. I understand. My team speaks highly of you. 12 teachers mentioned you've personally covered classroom supplies. The principal says you volunteer every weekend for the breakfast program. That's just what teachers do. No, that's character. Which made me wonder why Alexandra told me you were unemployed and living off family money. I said nothing. Sometimes silence communicates more than words. She also said you were bitter about her success, that you'd been hospitalized for depression, that the family had to exclude you from events because you caused scenes. Each lie was a small blade. I hadn't known how thoroughly she'd erased me. When I saw your portrait at the foundation, your grandmother's foundation, I realized I'd been deceived. But I need to understand why you didn't correct me yourself. Would you have believed me? Or would you have assumed I was the jealous sister Alexandra described? A long pause. You wanted me to discover the truth independently. I wanted you to know who you were really dating. Someone who could erase her own sister for social advancement. She's been calling nonstop, begging for another chance. That's between you and her. Will you be at the gala? I'm giving the keynote address. Alexandra will be there. This will destroy her professionally. No, Mr. Harrington. She destroyed herself. I'm just refusing to hide it anymore. Your grandmother must have been remarkable. She was. And she believed people should face the consequences of their choices. I'll see you tomorrow night, Ms. Chen, and please call me David. After he hung up, I pulled out my speech notes. 20-4 hours until truth met consequences. Chapter 10. Midnight visit at midnight. My doorbell rang. Alexandra stood there in designer sweats, her face puffy but determined. We need to talk. I let her in. Watching her survey my modest apartment, the teaching awards on the walls, the student artwork everywhere, the photos of Grandma Rose and me. Nice place, she said, her tone suggesting the opposite. Very, what do you want? Alexandra. Her demeanor shifted, tears evaporating. I know about the inheritance. 14 million. The properties. It's all in the will. How would you know that? I have connections at Morrison and Associates. Illegal, but unsurprising. And I'm the rightful heir. I'm the one who represents this family professionally. For what purpose? More designer handbags. For my life. Do you understand what circles I move in? The people I have to keep up with. You wouldn't understand. You're happy being nobody. I'm happy being myself. God, you're so self-righteous. She stood, pacing, always judging me for wanting more. Grandma never judged you. She just saw you clearly. What's that supposed to mean? Come to the gala. You'll understand. I could contest the will. Say you manipulated her while she was vulnerable. Try it. She stepped closer, voice dropping. Or we make a deal. You resign from the foundation. Support my claim to the inheritance. I'll compensate you 2 million. Tax-free. Alexandra, there's something you should know. Grandma left a video message that plays at the gala. Her face went white. What kind of message? The kind that explains everything, including why she made the choices she did. You've seen it. Tomorrow night, everyone will. She left without another word. Her expensive perfume lingering Tom Ford, suffocating and cloying. Chapter 11. The gala begins. Ritz-Carlton ballroom sparkled like something from a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow light across 500 guests in evening wear. Champagne flowed. Conversations hummed with anticipation. I entered through a side door, avoiding the main entrance where Alexandra held court. She'd positioned herself near the foundation's banner, gesturing animatedly to a cluster of potential donors, no doubt spinning her version of events. Meyer, Mrs. Patterson, one of our board members, embraced me warmly. Your grandmother would have loved seeing her foundation finally in the spotlight. Rose had always insisted on anonymity, funding quietly, never seeking recognition. Tonight's gala would have both horrified and delighted her. Maya Chen, a silver-haired woman, approached. I'm Catherine Morrison. Your grandmother funded my literacy program for 12 years. I never got to thank her. Before I could respond, others surrounded me, teachers whose classrooms Rose had supplied, community center directors she'd kept afloat, scholarship recipients now running their own nonprofits. None had known their benefactor's name until the invitations arrived. Across the room, I watched my parents notice the attention I was receiving. Mom's confusion shifted to alarm. She whispered urgently to Alexandra, who spun around, her scarlet Oscar de la Render gown flaring dramatically. Our eyes met across the sea of evening wear. For a moment, fear flickered across her face. Then she lifted her chin. That Chen pride Grandma always said would be our family's downfall, and started pushing through the crowd toward me. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC announced, dinner is served. Please find your seats. I'd arranged the seating myself. Alexandra at table 1, directly in front of the podium, with a perfect view of the presentation screen. Mom and Dad beside her. David at table 2 with his board. Press scattered strategically throughout. As I took my seat at the head table, I felt 500 curious gazes. They'd come expecting standard charity speeches and polite applause. They were about to witness something far more interesting: the public unraveling of a family's carefully constructed facade. Chapter 12. The interruption dinner was served filet mignon that Alexandra barely touched. She was too busy working the room between courses. Her laugh carrying across the ballroom, she told stories about growing up learning philanthropy from Grandma Rose. I ate quietly, watching her perform. She was talented, I give her that. Every gesture calculated, every anecdote designed to establish her as Rose's spiritual heir. As dessert arrived, Alexandra made her move. She stood, tapping her champagne glass with a fork until the room quieted. "I apologize for interrupting," she said, her voice projecting perfectly all those presentation skills on display. "But I simply can't wait any longer to share something wonderful." The MC looked confused, checking his program. "This wasn't scheduled. As many of you know, I'm Alexandra Chen, Rose Chen's granddaughter." She paused for effect, smiling radiantly. "And I'm thrilled to announce that I'll be taking a leadership position with the foundation, working alongside my dear friend David Harrington to expand our mission." David stood abruptly. "Alexandra, that's not." "Oh, David, always so modest." She laughed, that tinkling sound that probably charmed boardrooms. "Everyone, David and I have been planning incredible initiatives. The future of the Rose Chen Foundation," David said firmly, "will be decided by its actual board. And Alexandra, we're not together. I've made that clear." The room buzzed. Cameras that had been discreetly recording suddenly became obvious. Reporters leaning forward, sensing blood in the water. Alexandra's single quotes' composure cracked. "This is just a misunderstanding. My sister," she pointed at me, her manicured hand trembling. "She's manipulated everyone. She's not who you think she is." "Security," Thomas Morrison said quietly into his phone. "No." Alexandra's voice rose. "You need to know the truth. Meyer is nobody, a second-grade teacher who makes nothing, contributes nothing. She tricked our grandmother, isolated her, to security guards approached." But I stood, raising my hand. "Let her finish." The room went silent. "Go ahead, Alexandra," I said, my teacher voice calm and clear. "Tell everyone exactly what you think of me and my profession. Don't hold back." She took the bait. "Of course she did. You're an embarrassment." She spat. $40,000 a year, driving that ancient Honda, shopping at Target. "You're everything our family ain't supposed to be." "And what?" I asked quietly, walking toward the podium, "is our family supposed to be?" Chapter 13. The truth revealed. Letty reached the podium with measured steps, my borrowed heels clicking against marble. 500 faces turned to follow. Cameras tracked my movement. Alexandra stood frozen at her table, her scarlet dress now looking more like a warning flag than haute couture. "Thank you, Alexandra," I said into the microphone. That was perfect timing. I clicked the remote. The foundation's logo appeared on the massive screen behind me. "Good evening. I'm Maya Chen, chairman of the board of the Rose Chen Foundation." I paused, letting that sink in. "For those who don't know me, which is most of you, I teach second grade at Lincoln Elementary. I earn $40,000 a year. My car is 12 years old. My dress tonight is borrowed." A murmur rippled through the crowd. The contrast between my simple introduction and Alexandra's grandiose claims couldn't have been starker. My grandmother, Rose Chen, built this foundation over 40 years. She worked 3 jobs as a young widow, invested every spare penny, and quietly accumulated enough wealth to change thousands of lives. She never sought recognition, never wanted galas like this one. I clicked again. Photos appeared rows at food banks, in classrooms, at community centers, always in the background, always anonymous. But tonight, we break that tradition because Rose left us one final lesson about what really matters. Mom grabbed Alexandra's arm, trying to pull her into her seat. Alexandra shook her off, her face flushed with champagne and rage. "Before we continue," I said, looking directly at my sister, I should mention that 3 weeks ago, I wasn't invited to my family's Thanksgiving dinner. The reason my profession would embarrass my sister in front of her boyfriend. Gasps echoed through the ballroom. Cameras swung between Alexandra and me, capturing every moment. The boyfriend in question is David Harrington, who's here tonight as one of our major donors. David, would you mind confirming what Alexandra told you about me? David stood slowly, his expression carefully neutral. She told me Meyer was unemployed, living off family money, that she'd been institutionalized, that the family had to exclude her from events because she was unstable. The room erupted. Alexandra screamed something unintelligible. No, I said, clicking the remote again. Let's hear what Rose Chen had to say about all of this. Chapter 14. Rose's message. Rosie's face filled the massive screen. She sat in Thomas Morrison's office, looking directly at the camera with those sharp eyes that had never missed anything. The timestamp showed 6 months before her death. If you're watching this, Rose's recorded voice filled the ballroom, strong and clear. Then something has occurred that requires absolute clarity about my wishes. The room went silent except for the soft whir of cameras. I am Rose Marie Chen, of sound mind and body. As verified by the 3 witnesses present, the camera panned to show Thomas Morrison, Dr. Patterson, and Judge Reynolds. This recording concerns my estate and the conditions attached to it. I watched my parents' faces drain of color. They'd had no idea this existed. My estate consists of $14 million in liquid assets, 3 properties in New York, and controlling interest in the Rose Chen Foundation. This inheritance comes with one unbreakable condition. Rose paused, her eyes seeming to look directly at Alexandra. The beneficiary must demonstrate consistent compassion and refuse to discriminate based on social class, profession, or economic status. This includes,
and I'm being very specific here, never excluding family members because of their occupation or income level. Alexandra stood shaking. This is fake, this is. Sit down, Ms. Chen, Judge Reynolds said from table 3. I witnessed this recording personally. Rose continued. If my primary beneficiary violates this condition through documented exclusion, public dismissal of working-class professions, or deliberate discrimination, they forfeit all claims immediately and permanently. The screen split. On one side, Rose. On the other, screenshots appeared. Alexandra's texts about my embarrassing job, Mom's Facebook posts explaining my exclusion, the Instagram story captioned "Perfect family" with me conspicuously absent. My granddaughter Alexandra, Rose's voice was sad but firm, has shown a pattern of valuing wealth over family, status over substance. If she has excluded Maya for being a teacher, a profession I deeply respect, then she has failed my test. No, Alexandra lunged toward the screen, but security held her back. The inheritance transfers immediately to the secondary beneficiary. Maya Chen, who has spent 9 years teaching children, volunteers every weekend, and never once boasted about her connection to this foundation. The room exploded, cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions. But Rose wasn't finished. Chapter 15, The Documentation. Thomas Morrison took the podium as Rose's image froze on screen. He carried a leather portfolio, his movements precise and measured. Ladies and gentlemen, as executor of Rose Chen's estate, I'm required to confirm the legal standing of what you've just witnessed. He opened the portfolio, revealing documents tagged with official seals. On November 23, 2024, Thanksgiving Day, Alexandra Chen sent these messages to her sister. He clicked the remote. The texts appeared, each one time-stamped and enlarged. Your working-class job would embarrass me. Stay away from MY Real Family. You're everything our family shouldn't be. These messages, sent voluntarily and documented through cellular records, constitute clear violation of Section 7.3 of Rose Chen's will. Those were private, Alexandra shrieked. Posted to Instagram actually, Thomas corrected, showing the screenshot. Very public. Additionally, we have this email from Linda Chen to extended family, explaining that Maya was excluded from Thanksgiving because her profession wasn't appropriate for the company they were keeping. Mom stood, wobbling. We didn't know about the will. Irrelevant, the condition isn't dependent on your knowledge, it's dependent on your character. Dr. Patterson stood from his table. I performed cognitive assessments on Mrs. Chen monthly during her final year. Every score was perfect. She was sharper at 90 than most people at 50. Judge Reynolds added, the will was filed with the court 2 years ago. It's been reviewed by 3 separate legal teams, it's ironclad. Thomas pulled out another document. As of this moment, Alexandra Chen has forfeited all claims to the Rose Chen estate. The full inheritance, $14 million, the Manhattan brownstone, the Berkshire cottage and the coastal property, transfers to Maya Chen, along with controlling interest in this foundation. He turned to my parents. You were named as potential trustees with an annual stipend of $50,000. However, your participation in the discrimination disqualifies you as well. Dad collapsed into his chair. Mom was crying, mascara streaming down her face. This is theft, Alexandra screamed. I'll sue, I'll. You'll lose, Thomas said simply. Your own words convicted you. Chapter 16, The Meltdown. Alexandra's breakdown was spectacular. She grabbed a champagne flute and hurled it at the screen where Rose's frozen image seemed to watch with disappointment. The glass shattered harmlessly against the projection surface, sending champagne spraying across the first 3 rows. You planned this, she whirled on me, her designer dress tearing at the seam as she moved violently. You manipulated her, you turned her against me. I visited her, I said quietly, the microphone catching every word for the 500 witnesses. Every Sunday for 2 years, you came once. I was building my career, I had important things. More important than family, I asked. That's what you told Mom, isn't it? That David and his connections were more important than having your sister at Thanksgiving. You don't understand business, you don't understand anything, you're just a teacher. Just a teacher, I repeated, letting the words hang in the air. The room was utterly silent now. Even the cameras had stopped their mechanical whirring. The same profession as Dr. Martinez here, whose classroom grandma funded for 18 years. The same as Ms. Washington, whose students she sent to college. Mr. Thompson, whose music program she kept alive. I gestured around the room. Half the people here are teachers, social workers, non-profit directors, the very people you consider beneath you. David stood. Alexandra, you told me your family was in finance, that your grandmother was a society matron. You lied about everything. For you, Sophia turned on him, her voice breaking, to fit into your world. My world, David laughed, but there was no humor in it. My foundation exclusively funds working-class initiatives. My mother was a seamstress. My father was a postal worker. I built my company to lift others up, not to separate myself from them. He looked at me with something like respect. Your grandmother and I shared the same values. That's why we partnered on so many projects. Partnership, Alexandra's voice cracked. What partnership? The Harrington Foundation is severing all ties with your consulting firm, David announced. Effective immediately. We don't work with people who discriminate against the communities we serve. The dominoes fell quickly after that. 3 other major donors at nearby tables stood, announcing they too were cutting relationships with Alexandra's company. Her phone, sitting on the table, lit up repeatedly, panicked calls from business partners, no doubt. You've destroyed me, she whispered, finally understanding the magnitude of what she'd done. No, Alexandra, I said quietly. You destroyed yourself the moment you decided I wasn't good enough to sit at your table. Chapter 17, The Announcement. I returned to the podium, waiting for the chaos to settle. Security had moved closer to Alexandra, but she'd collapsed into her chair, sobbing into her hands while Mom rubbed her back ineffectually. I want to be absolutely clear about something, I said, my voice steady and calm. I never wanted the money. I didn't know about the will's conditions until after Grandma died. I kept quiet because I wanted to see who my family really was when they thought I had nothing to offer. I clicked the remote. A new slide appeared, the Rose Chen Equal Dignity Initiative. Tonight, I'm announcing that the entire $14 million inheritance will be donated to the foundation to fund a new program specifically for underpaid essential workers. Teachers, caregivers, social workers, the very people my family thought weren't good enough. Applause erupted, cameras flashed wildly, I saw teachers in the audience crying. The properties will be converted into affordable housing for educators in New York. No teacher should have to choose between their calling and a living wage. Maury applause louder this time. Alexandra, I addressed my sister directly. You're not being cut off. I'm offering you a position with the foundation, a volunteer position, 20 hours a week, working directly with the communities you've dismissed. You can learn what Grandma knew, that dignity isn't determined by income. You're humiliating me, she hissed. No, I'm offering you redemption. The same chance Grandma gave me every Sunday when she taught me that wealth without compassion is just greed in expensive packaging. I turned to my parents. The offer extends to you both. Family therapy is non-negotiable if you want any relationship with me going forward. Respect isn't optional anymore. Dad nodded slowly, understanding beginning to dawn. Mom was still staring at Alexandra like she was seeing her daughter for the first time. One last thing, I said, pulling out the sealed envelope Thomas had given me earlier. Grandma left this. She called it the nuclear option if anyone contested the will. Should I open it, Alexandra? My sister shook her head violently, terror replacing anger. Whatever she suspected was inside, she didn't want it made public. Then we're done here. I set the envelope down. Thank you all for coming. The foundation will be sending information about the Equal Dignity Initiative to everyone here. Grandma Rose believed that change happens one act of kindness at a time. Tonight, we honor her belief. Chapter 18, Aftermath. The media coverage was immediate and brutal. By morning, heiress loses millions over Thanksgiving snub was trending nationwide. The New York Times ran a feature, When Snobbery Costs $14 Million, a Modern Morality Tale. Alexandra's consulting firm lost 9 major clients within 48 hours. Her carefully curated social media presence, once filled with luxury and success, was flooded with comments calling her out for elitism and cruelty. She deleted all her accounts by day 3. My parents came to my apartment a week later, looking older somehow, diminished. We failed you, Dad said, his voice rough. Both of you actually, we created this dynamic. We thought success meant money, Mom added quietly. Your grandmother tried to tell us otherwise, but we didn't listen. Are you willing to do the work? I asked. Real therapy, not just apologies. They agreed. Dr. Kim, who specialized in family dynamics and economic trauma, would see us weekly. David and I met for coffee to discuss the foundation's future. His foundation would partner with ours on several initiatives. Your grandmother would be proud, he said. You handled that with more grace than I would have. She taught me that revenge makes you smaller, justice makes you stronger. What about Alexandra? I stirred my coffee, considering. She moved to Boston, got a job at a non-profit, the only place that would hire her, makes $38,000 a year now. Ironic. Educational, I corrected. She sent a letter last week, first honest thing she's written to me in years. I didn't tell him I hadn't opened it yet. Some wounds need time before you test their healing. Chapter 19, 6 months later. The Foundation's first initiative launched a month after the gala, emergency grants for teachers facing financial crisis. We funded 400 in the first week alone. Each thank you letter went into a folder labeled, Why This Matters. My answer to anyone who questioned the value of working-class professions. The Times did a follow-up story 6 months later. They photographed me in my classroom, surrounded by 7-year-olds during story time. The headline read, The Millionaire Teacher Who Gave It All Away. But my favorite part was the photo caption. Maya Chen, chairman of the Rose Chen Foundation, teaching her students about kindness. Her grandmother's greatest lesson, she says, was that dignity isn't measured in dollars. Alexandra saw it, I knew because she texted. Grandma would choose you all over again, wouldn't she? She chose both of us, I replied. You just haven't accepted the lesson yet. 6 months after the gala, I still taught 2nd grade. My classroom hadn't changed. Same alphabet posters, same reading corner, same circle time rug where 22 children sat cross-legged every morning. But everything else had transformed. The foundation had distributed $5 million in emergency grants to teachers, funded 60 classroom renovations, and launched a program providing free supplies to any educator who asked. No paperwork, no justification needed. Rose would have loved the simplicity. Lincoln Elementary received a $3 million grant for infrastructure. My principal cried when I handed her the oversized check for the photo op. Your grandmother never forgot where she came from, she said. I didn't correct her assumption. In a way, Rose had planned all of this. My parents were in therapy, making slow, painful progress. Mom had stopped posting on social media entirely, focusing instead on volunteer work at a women's shelter. Dad taught financial literacy at the community centre every Saturday. Penance, he called it quietly. David and I remained friendly. The Harrington Foundation partnered with ours on several national initiatives supporting working families. We kept things professional, though sometimes I caught him looking at me with something like regret for what might have been if we'd met under different circumstances. Time magazine named me Philanthropist of the Year. I wore the same navy dress from the gala to the photo shoot. The interviewer asked why I still taught when I could do bigger things. 22-second graders trust me to teach them to read, I said. There's nothing bigger than that. The article mentioned Alexandra once, noting she'd declined to comment. What they didn't know was that she'd been volunteering at a Boston food bank, 20 hours a week, exactly as I'd suggested. The director, an old friend of Rose's, sent me updates. She's learning, she wrote, slowly, but she's learning. Chapter 20, The Letter. A year after that Thanksgiving exclusion, I finally opened Alexandra's letter. She'd written it in purple ink, the same colour she'd used for notes when we were kids, before money and status poisoned everything. Maya, I used to think Grandma chose wrong, that you'd manipulated her, stolen what should have been mine. But I work at a food bank now, making less than you do. And yesterday a woman cried because we gave her groceries without making her prove she deserved them. I think I finally understand what Grandma saw, what you both saw, that dignity isn't something you earn or buy, it's something you recognize in everyone or you don't have it yourself. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I'm not sure I deserve it, but I wanted you to know that I'm trying to become someone Grandma wouldn't be ashamed of, someone you wouldn't be ashamed of. I'm sorry it took losing everything to learn what you knew all along. Your sister, Alexandra. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in Rose's folder, the one with all the important documents, not the legal ones but the human ones, the thank you notes from teachers, the drawings from students, the photos of families living in the converted properties. Looking back, I could have handled things differently. I could have fought to be included at Thanksgiving, begged for my place at the table. I could have revealed my position earlier, used it as leverage for respect. But Rose taught me that respect earned through power isn't respect at all. It's fear dressed in expensive clothes. The family that excluded me for being just a teacher learned that their values were bankruptcy dressed in designer labels. The inheritance they lost was never really about money. It was about understanding that the woman serving your coffee deserves the same dignity as the woman buying the coffee shop. Epilogue 2 years later. 2 years after the gala, I received an invitation to Alexandra's wedding. Small ceremony in Boston. Groom, Michael Torres, a public school counsellor she'd met while volunteering. No designer dress, she'd shown me a photo of the simple cream gown she'd found at a consignment shop. No society venue, they were getting married in the community centre where they'd both been teaching financial literacy classes. Will you come? She'd asked during our weekly phone call. I know I don't deserve it, but I'd really like you to be there. Of course I'll come, I said. Family shows up for each other, that's the whole point. On my desk, next to the crayon drawings and construction paper cards, Rose's photo smiled at me. Sometimes during quiet moments I still talked to her. You were right, Grandma, I whispered. Standing up for what's right is lonely at first, but eventually the right people stand with you. The fortune from that Thanksgiving night, patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet, was still in my wallet. Mr. Lou's restaurant had closed last year, but I kept the fortune as a reminder. Justice isn't loud or fast, it's quiet and patient and thorough. And sometimes it comes wrapped in a grandmother's love, and a teacher's steady faith that people can change if they're given the right lessons. Author's note. Your worth isn't negotiable. It doesn't increase with your salary or decrease with someone's opinion of you. Stand firm in that knowledge, even if you stand alone, especially then. This is Maya Chen's story, but it could be anyone's. Anyone who's been told they're not enough. Anyone who's been excluded for being exactly who they are. Remember, sometimes the best inheritance you can receive is the knowledge that you don't need anyone else's validation to know your own dignity. Keep standing tall, even in a borrowed dress.